Informal economies and streetscapes present along Roosevelt Avenue in Queens resonate with socio-cultural diversity created by recent migrant communities and its visitors. Vendors, workers, and laborers flood Roosevelt Avenue and its intersecting streets with a cacophony of colors, smells, and sounds. Local residents, myself included, embrace this constant influx of movement, exciting but also necessary for economic survival. The sensory facade of these markets is a mere fraction of the socio-cultural networks that exist behind the scenes. There is a discontinuity between the richness of the markets and the available housing for market workers. Instead of having ample housing integrated with the continuous cultural experience of the markets, migrant workers and their culture are suppressed into neglected and invisible spaces in the neighborhood's basement apartments. Based on U.S. Census Bureau data, 25% of all residents in Queens Community District 3 live in poverty, not accounting for migrant families. In this area, the average household is composed of 3 members, and according to 2021 federal income guidelines, families earning less than $40,000 annually are living in poverty. Field investigations reveal that most of the market workers in District 3 cannot afford code-compliant housing above ground. We are currently dealing with an affordable housing crisis, so what has New York City done about it? Currently, the only significant model for creating affordable units is driven by tax incentives, the most substantial being the A-421A Affordable Housing Abatement. Generally, developers get 35 years of 100% post-construction tax exemptions if the building contains at least 25% affordable units. This is great, right? Well, no, not really. There is a common misconception that this is helping the community, but in fact, it is doing the opposite. Although affordable units are being created, the other 75% of the units are usually luxury spaces, which the majority population cannot afford. This brings in a new demographic which displaces the current, leading to gentrification. The cultural phenomenon we experience along Roosevelt Avenue could disappear if we do not control developer encroachment. One way or another, new buildings will be created. It is a product of capitalism, and this will not stop anytime soon. But we need an alternative development model, one that is entirely affordable and disconnects itself from capitalist regimes and incentives. In this project, I am proposing to create affordable housing using a derivative of a community land trust model, or CLT. This model could hypothetically acquire subsidies from the government in tandem with the affordable tax incentives mentioned earlier. For this proposal, the site is not as important as the system I am trying to create, but having a targeted area of interest is helpful. I chose to investigate an area where informal economies and informal housing collide and retrospectively influence one another. This influx is most visible along the elevated 7 train line that bisects Corona and North Corona in Queens. Zoning blocks are consistent throughout Jackson Heights and Corona, with most areas falling into the R5 and R6B zoning with commercial overlay C2-4. This encompasses low-rise apartment buildings under 40 feet. Here we see apartment buildings that have had a past citation for illegal basement occupancy. This is consistent throughout Queens. When these apartments are discovered, spaces are cleared out and dwellers are displaced. This constant vacation of space causes a temporal living style that negatively influences daily life. The community needs additional space for housing to counteract this phenomenon. In Queens, there are many vacated sites that have the potential to be developed. This is one example. Instead of designing a building, I'm proposing to design a system which creates a building, one where the architect and user have equal say in process. Using a modular gridded design constructed of cross-laminated timber, we can create a system that is easily adaptable for many situations and is also economically friendly. The idea would be that the community, the ones living in these spaces, would be part of the architectural discussion and make decisions that benefit them. These massing studies are but one of many possible outcomes of this project. Taking this a step further, why not give the opportunity to the people to build portion of the buildings themselves? Not only will this provide more jobs, if the architect designs a system well enough, we can introduce scenarios where individuals could project their cultural expressions onto the building's appearance, maybe integrate a makerspace on the lower levels to create this. In general, it is difficult to communicate architecturally to the community, so why not simplify our methods of visualizations and representations so that it becomes easy enough for anyone to contribute. This interactive model allows a user to understand architecture using simple volumetrics and basic information. In the end, a model's purpose is to help understand a project, so I invite you all to play with the model for as long as it exists. We can start our dialogue here and work together towards a favorable resolution.